Hey, welcome back to the next episode of the Weapon Bench. I'm your host, Sensei Sigma 6. Today we're going to be talking about gunjutsu. Wait a minute. What the? Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Sigma 6, and we're going to be doing episode 2 of the Weapons Bench. Now, on this episode, we're going to be reviewing 2 gun stocks, which is technically the same gun stock, it's just that one's modified and one's not. And that weapon stock is going to be the Kobra Maglock Ultra. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Maglock Ultra. Now, a little history about the Maglock Ultra. So the Maglock Ultra is the upgraded version of the Maglock Pro. Sadly, the first video that I ended up putting out, you can no longer buy the Maglock Pro. Namely because the Maglock Pro was originally designed for the Quest Pro controller, which was more in depth of a larger gun stock, and it was a little bit heavier, and it designed was capable with the tracking that the Quest Pro controller was capable of. Now with the Quest 3 controller, as soon as that controller came out when the Quest 3 launched, was immediate problems with the Maglock Pro gun stock. So Falun Dorn had to hit the books, go to a redesign, and make some changes to the Maglock Ultra. So with the Maglock Ultra, I'll show you the differences between what was the Maglock Pro and with the new Maglock Ultra. Now, in this review, we're going to be covering first the default version of the Maglock Ultra, which is this guy, and my upgraded version of the Maglock Ultra, which is this guy. Okay, so those who follow me on X, also known as Twitter, will also know that this is a gun stock giveaway that I'm doing to promote this channel with my collaboration with Kobra VR. Now, coincidentally, we are running a contest right alongside Marisoc 78, which we're going to be doing some free giveaways, and this one is going to be mine. I'm going to be giving 2 customized gun stocks, which I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, which is going to be both of the Maglock Ultra, which is going to be fully customized by me, and then the other one's going to be a slightly but upgraded version of the Maglock Ultra as well. So those who are interested in that contest, I'll be posting a link to that Gleam giveaway down in the description below. It's going to have all the ways to enter and the rules for entry. This is an international contest, so if you want one, participate, get in, and hopefully you win. Good luck. Alright, so now that we have the contest details out of the way, we're going to be taking a look at each one of the gun stocks. I'm going to be doing both of them because of the fact that they're still the same gun stock. It's just that one's the base version, one's fully upgraded. So we're going to be taking a look at the base version of it first, and then we're going to be putting the fully upgraded one down on the weapon bench down below. So without further ado, let's dive right into these. Now that we have the Ultra on the weapons bench, we can take a look at what separates this from its older brother, the Maglock Pro. First thing that you'll notice is going to be the compact size. The reason why the compact size is because the Maglock Ultra has a shorter barrel compared to that of the Maglock Pro, which had a longer barrel. The reason why the Pro was able to get away with the longer barrel was because of the fact that the controllers tracked using its own individual Snapdragon processing chip, and it also communicated to the controller to the headset with the cameras. Well, given that the fact that those are $300 controllers, Meta wanted to end up shipping a controller that was the predecessor to the Quest 3 and also the predecessor to the Quest 2 controller, with getting away with the tracking ring. So in order to do that, it has IR lights at the top of the controller so that way it communicates with the headset. Unfortunately, if you use the Quest 3 controllers with the Maglock Pro gun stock, you'll get weird tracking issues with the lead hand. The slanted buttstock, which it also has an increased surface area for the actual buttstock plate that actually rests against your shoulder box when you're actually positioning this. Now, the reason why Fal made these changes was because there was a lot of people that ended up getting the predecessor to these gun stocks, which is this guy right here, which is the Sidewinder, and the other version, which was the Ultralight. Now, these guys had smaller buttstock surface areas, and a lot of people were saying that because of the fact that it was so small, that it didn't fit comfortably, and sometimes that they were just misplacing where this was resting on their shoulder. So Falun Dorn decided that he was going to make this surface area of the buttstock larger. Now I can say that this is the largest surface area for any buttstock that Falun Dorn has on any of his gun stocks. Because of the fact that it's adjustable with this little knob here, it's also adjustable with this switch here. Now if you hit the switch, you can adjust the length. Now the older versions of these gun stocks had you know, a little knob that you would have to tighten and loosen in order to do this. This right here, this spring and hinge design that's on this version is completely new, so that way you can adjust on the fly without having to worry about untightening and tightening while you're in the middle of a firefight. Now, unfortunately, you still have that with the rising cheek rest. The good thing is that you wouldn't need to have it preset the way that you want to, but it's put in this position to the point where you don't accidentally hit this thing and then your, you know, cheek rest goes all the way down and then your sight picture is completely off. One of the main reasons why I like this slanted buttstock, that it allows the cheek rest to be level and flush with the upper part of your upper receiver of your gun stock. This helps you keep a good sight picture to where your sights are going to be, or iron sights are going to be in game. So if it's slightly raised and this is raised up, which does still help, it's just that with this particular design, it helps sit inside of your shoulder box a little bit better because it sits a little bit lower on the shoulder, but it allows the cheek to rise up, so that way you could have something to rise up against. Now that we're done talking about the buttstock, we're going to be moving over to the pistol grip. Now, the pistol grip is a removable trigger group assembly that allows you to draw your pistol quickly from off of your main gun stock here, so that way you can draw down on targets and then quickly reattach them back. So there's going to be a key difference between the Maglock Ultra versus the Maglock Pro. So if you do own both, you won't be able to swap the pieces between the two, and it'll be easily identifiable to which part is actually belonging to the Ultra and the other one is actually belonging to the Pro. While discussing the key differences between the Maglock Ultra and the Maglock Pro's pistol grip, this is the Pro's grip, and this is the same one that was covered in the video that I recovered last time. As you can tell, it's a lot wider at the base and the front, a lot wider at the base at the top, which the top and front has full-size magnets, which I do believe are 90-pound pull strings each. The difference between that and the Ultra is that you can tell with the Ultra, it's very, very narrow in the front, very narrow at the top. Still has a full-size magnet in the front, and then we have a smaller size magnet at the top. Now, I don't know the pull strength of the magnet at the top, but it's vastly different from the pull strength of the magnet at the top of the Pro stock. So the difference is that when you're putting those controllers back inside of the body of the gun stock, they're going to be very, very different when it comes to attaching them. This is the Ultra, and this is the Ultra's pistol grip. Now, you can tell they're very, very narrow. This has the lip around the side, so it's going to make it a little bit harder to attach this back into here. So one thing that I found that's going to be a little cheap for those that do want to draw the pistol away from the rest of the body of the Maglock is that what I do is I keep my finger off to the side, trigger discipline, and when I'm putting it back towards the gun stock, I feel for this base here. And when I feel the base, I take the palm of my hand and curl my fingers, so that way it forces the gun stock to set within that lip. Now, if it doesn't set in that lip, you might want to push forward until the pistol grip seats correctly inside of the magwell. It's going to be a little bit harder to do with the headset on, so like usual, practice makes perfect until you actually get good at it and way that the rifle slings when you pull your pistol out. You might want to not, draw for your pistol, at least not without, pulling it out of the gun stock until you can actually seat it back in after, some time fiddling around with it and you know where it all lines up. Hopefully that little tip helps. Okay, now back to the gun stock itself. Everything else on here is going to be purely cosmetic. Now, when you buy your gun stock from the website, you might not get the option for the side rails here. These side rails I 3D printed and added on myself, and you're not going to get the front sight bracket either. The front sight bracket was actually designed by Marisoc himself and has this really, really cool interlocking mechanism, so that way it looks like it was actually part of the weapon automatically. You can get the halo sight added towards your order, and you can also get a sling that will come with your order that attaches to this little sling rail mount right here. So you just clip it on and it slings in and there's no issues. But other than that, this gun stock is very lightweight, it's very responsive, and it works really, really well with the Quest 3 controllers. Now, for those that do have the Quest Pro controllers, I just want to also let you know that you can get this gun stock, but make sure that you're getting the one with the Quest 3 controller attachments. Let me explain. So if you're buying the stock is going to automatically come defaulted with the Quest 3 controller mounts. I'm going to show you what those look like. Let me unmount that. So if you look at the bar around the sides of the controller, the mount does not have any holes. This is because of the fact that the Quest 3 controller tracks from the top. If you have the Pro controllers, make sure that you're ordering the Pro controller with the Pro controller dock. These docks have holes here on the side, so that way the Pro controller's cameras can still just see out and have a clear line of sight, because the controller doesn't track using IR. It tracks by the Snapdragon processor chip inside, and it sees the direction where it's coming from with those cameras. So make sure that if you're using the Pro controller, make sure that you get the upgrade for the Pro mounts. Otherwise, you're going to be using a Quest Pro controller with the Quest 3 mounts, which doesn't have the holes, and this controller fits inside of the mount bracket differently than a Pro controller. So a little caution for buyers when they were getting their mounts. Make sure that if you use the Pro controller to get the Pro mount. And if you're using the Quest 3 is going to come standard with this gun stock. So just putting that out there. Now that we have the upgraded version of my personal gun stock here with all the bells and whistles, if you're going to use this with the Quest 3 controller, I do have to make some suggestions. You might want to remove the front sight post, and you might want to remove the flashlight, namely because of just how the tracking of that controller tracks with the headset. These options here in the front can and will most likely get in the way of your tracking. Just putting that out there, if you're using this with the Quest 3 default controller stock, you're going to have issues with tracking. If you have the Quest Pro controller, you can leave these additions on. They won't have any issues just because of how that controller tracks. It tracks by itself, then communicates to the headset. So all these bells and whistles will not cause any issues to the tracking. So just putting that little disclaimer out there. So you will notice that there's a slight difference between the Maglock Pro version that I covered in the first video versus the Maglock Ultra, which I'm doing now. So aside from the aesthetic, it's still the same black, white, and red. A lot of the layouts is very similar. The key difference is that because of the shortened barrel, we don't have the laser attachment that I had here on the front. Like I said, everything that's on this Maglock is completely aesthetic. It does absolutely nothing for you in game, but it just looks good. Since I'm a streamer, draws the attention to the gun stock. But aside from that, it just looks really cool. Mentioned by Brian here.
This is the Maglock Ultra Gunstock for the Quest 3 and Quest Pro controllers.
I wonder where he got the idea for that. So after watching that video, you'll notice that there's a couple attachments that's on this stock that are on Brian's stock. Namely because Brian is the one that designed these parts and pieces. He designed the magnifying scope. He also designed the halo sight. These are not made to purchase. You will not be able to buy them from Brian. You will not be able to buy them from me, or you will not be able to buy them from the Kobra site when you're ordering your stock. So just putting that out there, that these are unique to Brian's stock, my stock, and this stock. So one of the main reasons why this is still a one-of-a-kind gun stock. The rear buttstock for this section is very similar to the buttstock that I have that is on my Maglock Pro. It's the same layout, the same design. The only thing that's different is that it doesn't have the honeycomb cutout that's on this stock that is on my Maglock Pro. We still have the same red buffer tube that's here towards the back. We still have the front and rear pop-up sights, which is ideal when you're running a dual scope setup. So if you have dual scopes or dual sights, you will normally want to still have a way to have iron sights to aim down your targets, because you'll have glare, you'll have fogging issues, and your batteries might die in these devices, making them completely useless. So normally if you're running dual sights or dual scopes, you want to have iron sights. So I still have the pop-up iron sights for this gun stock. Now, I mentioned earlier that the only difference between this one and my Maglock Pro, of course, this one still has the canted buttstock design, namely because of how this stock sits into the rest of the body. So it still gives it that canted design, but it still has the buffer tube assembly that I have on the Maglock Pro controller stock. Unfortunately, like I mentioned in that one, you won't be able to buy the buffer tube, and you can buy, you know, a mil-spec buttstock but you will have to have a buffer tube to attach to the buttstock. So putting that out there. You can 3D print one, or you know, something along those lines where you can actually adapt this portion to the rest of the buttstock. Moving on from that is that we still have the Picatinny rails here on the front, and you do notice that if you watch the last video that this one does not have the red laser on it, namely because of the fact that it is a shortened barrel. So you won't have the full size barrel to have that laser on there, so unfortunately there won't be a laser on this one. So looking at the backside of the Ultra, there's not going to be too many things that's going to be different versus this version than the version that we covered with the Maglock Ultra in the first video. The only key difference that we really have with this gun stock is going to be the flashlight mount. The flashlight mount that we had on that one was an actual bracket that attached to this canted 45-degree Picatinny rail that we have here. This one is very unique because here at the bottom, there's these two mounts here that are zip tie mounts. Now, these zip ties cover and hold this flashlight on. Now, you can cut the zip ties, you can pretty much put anything through them. What they are is that they're Picatinny gaps where they sit in, and then there's little holes at the top and bottom that you can run zip lines to. So you can remove the flashlight and you can put almost anything up there. If you want to remove this flashlight, you sure can. All you have to do is clip these zip ties, and you can put any other attachment on there if you like, or if you want to put a different kind of flashlight or any other attachment but still use those, you sure can. Aside from the backside of the mount, the only other thing that is different and completely unique to this gun stock will be the gun charm that we have here. So if you look here on this side, there is a collaboration that we have for Kobra VR and my channel there. There is that, and on the flip hand side is going to be the Kobra logo. So that's going to be completely unique to this gun stock. Technically, there's only 3 of them that was made. I have one. Jay and Fowl have one for their gun stock, and whoever wins this will also get their version of the Kobra VR and Sigma 6 collaboration gun charm mount. All right, so those who follow me on Twitter and those who follow me on X, I want to thank you guys again for the continued support, and I want to apologize for how long that it took me to put this review out. I've had some personal things that kind of stepped in and hindered my ability to make this video, so hopefully in the next review, which we'll be covering with the very first gun stock that I've ever purchased from Kobra VR, is going to be this guy. This right here is the DMR Wolverine. Catch you guys with the next one. Like usual, Sigma's got you 6. Over and out.